Welcome to my channel, Sunshine Shoulders. I'm Calvin. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Subject of my vlog today is 20 questions and answers about life as an expat in the Philippines. Before I get started, let me welcome my new viewers and new subscribers. Thank you so much for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of my channel. It's truly been amazing, and I'll never take that for granted. What I did was, I went back on my last 4 or 5 live streams and I looked at a lot of the questions that I missed. And I took the questions and I boiled them down to the 20 best, most asked questions about life in the Philippines as an expat. And I'm going to talk to you about each one of them. I'm going to go from 20 down to 1. And without taking any more of your time, number 20 is, what is a GRO? A GRO is a guest relations officer. It's just a fancy name that some of these bars give to their bar girls. It's just a prostitute, really, a hooker. But you're gonna hear that word a lot when you're in the Philippines. GRO, guest relations officer. That's number 20. Number 19 is, what's the price of a round-trip ticket to the Philippines? This is all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. This depends on where you're flying from. Is it one way? Is it round trip? Which, of course, if you're coming from the States, you need a round trip or an onward ticket. Excuse me. The layover, what day? But yeah, that's all over the place. I paid about $600 for my round trip when I left the rat race December the 3rd, 2018. Wherever you're coming from, your best bet is to buy that ticket as far out as you can afford to do it, and the airlines will allow you to do it. That way you'll get a better price. But that's number 19. The price of a round-trip ticket to the Philippines. Number 18 is, do I still pay taxes in America now that I'm living in the Philippines? Absolutely, because I'm still a U.S. citizen. My residence is just over here in the Philippines. But yeah, I still vote and I still pay taxes. I'm not a Filipino citizen. I'm not a permanent resident or anything like that. Number 17 is, what visa do I have? I have a balik bayan visa. I came here with my wife. She was a returning Filipino from abroad. And they get they're called balik bayans. And it's a privilege for them. They get a special visa. It covers them, their spouse, their children, even their parents, brothers and sisters. Long as you can show that kinship. And it sort of mimics a tourist visa, but one big difference. For the first year, there's no visa fees. So I don't have to go to a Bureau of Immigration every 2 months, every 6 months, every month. It's good for 1 year. Then after that, it mimics a tourist visa. I have to renew all the way up to 36 months. So yeah, I'm on a balik bayan visa. Number 16 is, what is the currency in the Philippines? It's called the peso, or they pronounce it piso. And right now the rate is 50.14 pesos to the dollar. As long as it's over 50, in my opinion, it's good. But it's called the peso or piso. Number 15, when I come to the Philippines, should I stay in a hotel or an Airbnb? My choice is the Airbnb. For many years, I stayed in a hotel or a pension house before I ever knew anything about Airbnb. I was late to Airbnb, but the Airbnb game in the Philippines has just improved dramatically. You get more bang for your buck. One of the big things about Airbnb is most of them, you can cook your own food. So people have nice things, you might as well take advantage of them. Airbnb for me. But it just depends on who you are, what you like. It's more privacy with an Airbnb. It gives me more of a being at home feel. Number 14 is, how much money should I bring on my first trip and how long should I stay? I always tell people this on your first trip, because there's nothing like the first time coming to the Philippines. Bring as much money as you can afford and stay as long as you can, because there's nothing like that first trip to the Philippines. But to be more specific, I would say come for at least 2 weeks, and I'd bring $2,000. You're not going to spend that unless you go crazy, but that way it gives you a little money for an emergency or some, unforeseen incident coming up. So yeah, don't come anywhere less than 2 weeks, especially if you're coming from the West, because it's a long trip. The time difference, it's going to take your body time to acclimate, and then even when you go back home. So yeah, bring about $2,000 for those first 2 weeks and make you an itinerary. See as many places as you possibly can. Province or city? Well, if anybody doesn't know, province is sort of like the rural, remote areas. If you like peace, if you like tranquility, you're probably going to like the province. But there's some drawbacks to the province. A lot of times you don't have the good internet service, you don't have the malls, the nice restaurants. So that's what the city can give you. And then there's kind of like an in-between there. It's called a municipality. It's not quite the province, it's not quite the city. I stayed in one, it's called Zamboanguita. It's a municipality. It's about 28 kilometers outside of Dumaguete. It's really, really nice. But for me, city. Even though I don't like the traffic, I live in a small city, San Carlos, the traffic's not bad at all. Because when you get Cebu, Dumaguete, even Dumaguete now is getting bad. In these big cities, Bacolod, Manila, traffic's bad. Iloilo, and I don't want that. I don't like that. So yeah, city for me, but the smaller the better. But the province, yeah, I like to visit, but not to live. What's a brownout? Well, brownout is a temporary loss of power in your area. It's not a blackout, because everywhere in San Carlos, if we have a brownout like we have one today, all of San Carlos wasn't in a brownout. So that's why you wouldn't call it a blackout. Everybody here hadn't lost power. Only certain areas, certain pockets. And that's why they call it a brownout, but it's a temporary loss of electrical power. And when you first experience it, it's going to drive you crazy coming from the West. There's no internet unless you got data. There's no aircon, there's no refrigerator, nothing. You're just without power, and the later in the day, the worse. Because at night, there's no recourse. In the daytime, you can go swimming, you can go to the mall, you can go to different places to kind of offset that loss of power. But that's what a brownout is, a temporary loss of power in different pockets of where you're staying. What does IATF stand for? You hear that all the time, and you read it a lot, those initials in the news over here. It's called the Interagency Task Force. It's the president appointed a council that manages the pandemic over here in the Philippines. It's called the Interagency Task Force. And they set down all the rules, all the alert levels, all the quarantine levels. All the rules come from the IATF. And that's what that means. Number 10, must-see vacation spots. Well, remember, if you're coming to the Philippines for the first time, you have to go to Boracay, okay, or Palawan, but there's so many places. If you're going to fly into Manila, go to Tagaytay. It's further north. It's a lot cooler. You're going to go past the Taal volcano, Taal volcano. It's a life-changing experience when you see that volcano sitting right there in the middle of that lake. I'll never forget it. I've only saw it one time, and I've never forgotten it. But there's so many once-in-a-lifetime destinations here. But if you're only going to be here for 2 weeks, I say Boracay, because it's got everything. It's got the nightlife. It's got the beaches. It's got the beautiful people. It's got the food. It's safe. It's affordable. It's got it all. So at least Boracay, guys, okay? Number 9 is, how did you meet your girlfriend? Well, I met my girlfriend on Filipino Cupid. I was here already. Okay, and I know you hear me wane and wail at these dating sites, but for different reasons. Not that there's no good women on there, but it's just that the longer I've been over here, the more I know that you don't really need the dating sites. But I met her on Filipino Cupid. I was here already. I wasn't looking for a serious relationship, really. I was married. It just so happened that things turned out the way that they did. And there really was an immediate spark. There was really an immediate connection. And it led to where we are today, living, we've been together for 2.5 years. I can say that I love her. And with all honesty, I can say that. Marriage is something different. We haven't even really talked about that. But yeah, I met her on Filipino Cupid. I was here already. So and that kind of helps everything a little bit. If you're here already, it kind of gets rid of a lot of the riffraff, because instead of them asking for something, she never asked me for anything, but we're going to talk about that. But anyway, it's easier for you to meet the person, because online dating, it's good to break the ice, especially if you're somebody like me. I'm shy, I'm bashful, but yeah, that's where we met. Number 8 is, what is the girlfriend experience? Well, the girlfriend experience is just, when you first get over here, the woman you've been chatting with, I don't care if it's 2 weeks, a week, a month, she's going to act like you two have had an established relationship for years, and everything that goes along with an established relationship. It puts you at ease. It's something special about coming over here to the Philippines. I know they talk about the girlfriend experience in different places, but it's different over here. You're just meeting regular women, but they put you at ease. It's like that anyway, because the Philippines has like a sense of community. And you'll know Filipinos for 1 or 2 days, and it seems like you've been knowing them forever. That's the way they make you feel. But that's what the girlfriend experience is. When you get off the plane and you meet her, she's going to pretend like, and she's going to act like you've been knowing each other for years. Calling you honey, just doing everything that an established relationship that you would, that you would think of in an established relationship. But that's what that girlfriend experience is. Number 6 is, what's the best city to fly into the Philippines? Now remember, these are just my opinions. And because I flew into Cebu the first time, I'm biased towards Cebu. You can fly into Cebu, you can fly into Manila, or Clark, depending on where you're going. But the question was, what is the best city to fly into? I'm going to say Cebu. It's not a whole lot going on like in Manila. And Cebu, everything in Manila is in Cebu, except the crowds aren't as bad. Cebu has grown tremendously since 2009 when I first came here to now. But Cebu, people are friendlier, things slow down, especially when you get off the plane. You can exchange your money right then and there. You don't have to worry about anybody, snatchers or anything like that. You got armed guards around you. And as soon as you step outside the terminal, there's the queue for the taxi. So, and then the airport is maybe a 5-minute, if that. You go down Airport Road until you get to Lapu-Lapu or Mactan. So yeah, I'm going to say Cebu. Number 5 is, what's the best way to meet a Filipina? Well, familiarity, but that's not the best way. The best way is introduction. Either you have some friends over here that can introduce you to a Filipino, or you're staying at the hotel, Airbnb. You don't even go to a restaurant. You see, to the mall and say, hey, can you introduce me to her? You may see a group of girls. But introduction is the best way because they're very bashful. And if her sister introduces you to her, there's a good chance that she's going to stop and give you the chance because they respect the opinions of their sisters and aunties and different things like that. Introduction is number one. Familiarity is number two. Going into the same store 3 or 4 times. Remember, it's like a sense of community here. So after a Filipino sees you 2 or 3 times, it's almost going to be like she knows you. She's going to be comfortable. See, and then that's when you, hey, you know, I'm Calvin, I'm going to be here for a couple of weeks. Can, you know, you want to go out and get something to eat, or, you know, can we exchange phone numbers or something like that? And then, of course, you know, there's the dating sites, guys. When all else fails, if you want to break the ice, because, see, here's what happens. Even though it's a dating site, you're still going to have to go through all the rigmarole. Is there a spark? Because they're looking for a spark. Is there a connection? Are you compatible? So yeah, but the best way would be through introduction. Number 4 is, what is the unspoken agreement? Because you hear us talking about that all the time. It's just another way of saying pay for play. You hear people say all the time, oh, well, my Filipina never asked me for money. Well, she's never going to ask you for money because there's an unspoken agreement, and it's simply this. You're going to be the financier, and she's going to be the freak. You're going to pay for everything, and she's going to take care of you with everything. It's just that simple, guys. You know, you might as well get used to it. Does love develop down the line? Of course it does. But there's an unspoken agreement that that's here. And the sooner you get comfortable with it, the better. But you're going to be the financier. She's going to be the freak. And I don't care how religious she is. That's just something that they already have in their mind. They know you're not coming over here for nothing. Number 3 is, what's the worst thing about living in the Philippines? Well, I'm going to tell you something. The worst thing to me is the slow pace. Getting things done here is like pulling teeth. I'm going to tell you something. Right now, even though I'm in my new house, we don't have our electricity on. We're borrowing the neighbors. Remember that sense of community. So that's the worst thing. It's so much red tape and that you have to go through just to get the simplest thing done here. And if you don't develop patience, you're not going to make it here. Patience is the virtue here. And that's the greatest advantage that Filipinos have over foreigners coming into their country. Filipinos have patience. Okay, because this society goes to teach them patience. They have no other choice. And they have it in bunches. But yeah, it's a slow, methodical pace getting things done over here. Number 2, number 4, I'm sorry, I missed the wrong one. It says, why do Filipinos date much older men? Well, remember, Filipinos aren't from outer space. Okay, they want stability too. But more or less, it's the visa, the better life, and the opportunities that go along with dating an older man. He's already established. Remember, women mature faster than men anyhow. So a lot of the women over here, and Filipino men their age, they're just so much older, they're so much more mature. And he doesn't really have a whole lot to offer. When you get over here, you're going to see what I'm talking about. A Filipino man here, it's nothing for him to be 25, 28, 30 years old, maybe even older, still living at home with his parents. But they want the stability, they want the security, that comes along with dating an older man, especially a foreign man. But it's all about the visa, the better life, and the lifetime of opportunities. And do you blame them? Really? See, let's not penalize the Filipino for that. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody wants to come up. But that's the reason they do it. Okay, number 2 is, what's the best thing about living in the Philippines? Well, that's real easy. Excuse me, everybody. That's real easy. I don't know. That's real easy. You're welcome here. And no matter all the other things that you may encounter here that you don't like, just being welcome nullifies all that other stuff, man. I mean, I've been to these other places. I've been around the world. I haven't been to Thailand, but I've been around the world. There's nothing like being welcome. Filipinos, they're unicorns in that way. They don't bother you. They're genuinely friendly. They're generally hospitable. And that's why I put the Philippines at the top. Well, they may not have the best infrastructure. They might not have the fastest Wi-Fi, but you're welcome here. And I tell you, if you're 8,000 miles away, nothing beats that. That easily could have been number 1. You're welcome here, and you're genuinely welcome. It's not a phony plastic welcome. I'm telling you from experience, being here on and off for 12 years. When you see somebody smile at you, 99 times out of 100, it's genuine. When you wave, they're going to wave back. When they talk to you, they want to talk to you. They're really interested. Okay, so yeah, being welcome. I've never felt as welcome anywhere, not even in my own country, as I do here. And what comes along with that, you feel safe, you feel free. So yeah, welcome. And the number 1 question I get all the time from you all, because these questions come from my viewers: when is the Philippines reopening? Nobody knows that. The IATF that I just told you about, they're in charge of that. But I will say this: the Bureau of Immigration has already come out saying, we're ready. We're ready to welcome the international visitors whenever that time comes. Manila's on alert 2, getting ready to go into alert 1. 100% economic activity, 100% capacity. Everything fully open to the new normal. I'm not going to go out on a limb too far, but I'll say by the end of the first quarter, if things go as they're going now, the Philippines is going to be reopened. So there you have it, guys. 20 questions and answers of living as an expat in the Philippines. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all the questions. And I hope I answered them to the best of your ability. If you're in America, it's late. You're probably in bed. And I hope before you got into bed, you found somebody to intentionally help. But if you're on one of them late grocery runs, beer runs, weed runs, just getting off second shift, or you're on your lunch break, you see somebody in the street, buy them something to eat, buy them something to drink, give them a few dollars. In the Philippines, it's about 12 noon on a Friday. Beautiful day. I'm going to go in here and eat my lunch. There's no excuse why we shouldn't go out and intentionally find somebody to help over here. Because if I don't know anything else, I know this one thing for sure: we help other people, we help ourselves. Take care, stay safe, stay COVID free. I'll see you next time. I'm going to try to figure out some kind of way to do this drawing. I wasn't able to do the electronic community pantry drawing Wednesday, and tonight we have our 1,000 peso pandemic drawing. So I'm going to buy some data because we don't have internet over here. And I'm going to buy data for this phone and the other phone. And we're going to spin the wheel 3 times tonight. 2 times for Wednesday and 1 time tonight. So we're going to keep our streak going. We haven't missed 1 week since this pandemic started. Actually, since July of 2020. We're going to keep that streak going. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe. Stay COVID free. I'll see you next time.